afternoon, everyone. Welcome, or evening now. So welcome to your town hall. Thank you all for attending. Your presence here tonight is an indication of your concern, your commitment, your love for Pleasantville, the city of Pleasantville, right? So who am I? By way of introduction, I am Sharon Hunt. I am your neighbor for 21 years here in the city of Pleasantville. And for the past 13 months, I have served as the HR director at the ACUA. Why are we here? We're here because the ACUA wanted to host this meeting in collaboration with St. Mary's, who does not take a position either way or the other, but we're here because they have a commitment to responsible waste management. Okay, so the hope is that by the end of tonight, after hearing discussions, presentations, questions, answers, you will walk away with an informed opinion. Whatever that opinion is at the end of the night, you will be informed. Okay, so Rick Dovey, the president here at the ACUA, will be leading the discussion tonight. And Rick has been the president at ACUA for the past 27 years. And under his leadership, ACUA has received national recognition for excellence in innovation, efficiency, and environmental stewardship. We know, or at least I know, because I talked to a lot of you, that this issue can be contentious, and that's okay, because that means there's passion on both sides of the discussion, right? But what I ask throughout the night is that you remain respectful in all of your communications. Do it the way we do it in Pleasantville, respectful, okay? Secondly, I ask that you, or encourage that you jot down your questions as you listen to the presentations, and then ask your questions at the end of the night. We can only learn and be informed if we are respectful. So without further ado, I present to you Mr. Rick Dovey.
Thank you, Sharon. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. The purpose of this meeting was, or is, to go through the reasons that the ACUA and the staff at the ACUA and myself believe that the site of the proposed transfer station is not right for Pleasantville. There are larger issues that will be discussed later in the process. But the first step in the process is actually having a municipality endorse a site and a facility and a location. That's the first step. It cannot be, so there's this long chart here, and I don't expect anybody to read it other than here is where we are today. Look how far it has to go. So it's just the beginning. There's something in New Jersey called the Solid Waste Management Act. It required each county back in 1970s to develop a solid waste management plan. Atlantic County did that. It also made each county responsible for designating an agency to be responsible for solid waste management in that county. So you may not remember in the 70s, but actually here in Pleasantville, you will remember. There was chaos in the trash business in New Jersey, in Atlantic County, in Pleasantville. Remember Crisis Pit. It's still there. We're all still paying for it. There was inadequate trash disposal and management in New Jersey, in Atlantic County, and in Pleasantville. This county was required to develop a plan. They appointed in 1982 the Atlantic County Utilities Authority, the agency that I work at, to be responsible for developing a plan and facilities and policies to meet the goals of the State Solid Waste Management Act, which encouraged recycling, resource recovery, and proper trash disposal in approved environmental landfills with adequate controls to protect groundwater and the neighbors around it. Okay, so that's the 1982, the then called Board of Freeholders, and the county executive, now called county commissioners, appointed the ACUA to be responsible for developing a plan for Atlantic County. And ultimately what came from that, after probably about 6 years of hearings, public hearings, a selection of the site on Delilah Road where the county solid waste facilities would be located. Initially, a waste to energy resource recovery plant, a recycling center, a compost center, and a landfill there. All of the facilities were approved except for the landfill. The landfill was turned down by the DEP, New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, after the county freeholders, county government formally amended the plan to appoint and select that site. There were numerous, over a period of 4 or 5 years, public hearings, debates, studies, recommendations, and in the end, the Board of Freeholders in the county adopted and amended the plan to make that the site and the ACUA responsible for managing it. So that happened in 1990. Recycling started in 1988 through the ACUA, and we've continued since then. The first 7 years of our operation on Delilah Road, a 365-acre facility, property that sits south of Westcott Road. There's a map over here that shows the whole property in green, and that's where we have all of our facilities. The state changed its policy about waste energy plants, and there will not be a waste energy plant in Atlantic County or anymore in the state. You will know that there are about 4 or 5 of them in the state. There's one at the foot of the Walt Whitman Bridge in Camden County. There's one in Gloucester County. There's one in Essex County. There's one in Union County. And that's all that are operating today. So what would the Atlantic County do? We were turned down for a landfill. We were turned down for a resource recovery facility. 1990. We built a 66,000 square foot transfer station, which still operates to handle all of the waste in Atlantic County, including the waste that is proposed to go through the facility in Pleasantville. That facility opened in August of 1990, and all of the trash by waste flow. Waste flow means all trash must come to this approved facility, approved by the DEP, by the state of New Jersey, by the county of Atlantic, in compliance with all laws. It's been operating since then. We went out to bid. We didn't have a landfill. You see a landfill here. We proposed it, and the state turned it down because of its being adjacent to the Atlantic City Airport. Birds are attracted to landfills. Birds get in the way of airplanes and cause accidents. We had proposed that this landfill would be a nighttime landfill, meaning you landfill at night when the birds can't see and don't fly. That was turned down. So we had to dispose of all of the waste, all in August of 1990, all the landfills in Atlantic County closed by Pinelands Commission rules. So there had to be a facility to receive all the waste, including C and D waste, and take it to an approved site. We checked with all the counties around us. They didn't want any dirty Atlantic County waste. So we went out to bid for a disposal site. Bid, we're a government agency, you have to go out to bid. You have to go through a competitive process for hauling and disposal. And for 7 years, we hauled and disposed by low bid to Waste Management's landfill in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. All of Atlantic County's waste for 7 years came here and then was transferred to Pennsylvania. 7 years, 1990 to 1998. All right. The facility, 66,000 square feet, is designed to handle all the waste in the county and receive it and ship it out. Not only did it get approved, it got approved by the fact that there were impacts on traffic. All the trash trucks were going to start coming here. The county required the AC way, and in the end, the ratepayers, to expand from 2 lanes to 4 lanes with turning lanes, Delilah Road. So if you go from Delilah Road at Fire all the way to the expressway, under the expressway, the road is 4 lanes wide. Paid for because the studies, the traffic studies done for this project to receive all the waste required the road to be widened. Also Gowdy Road to be realigned, so we come into an intersection and a full signalization. There's traffic light at the entrance to the transfer station. Why? Because a lot of traffic will come there and has come there since 1990. That's the facility. By 1997, we had convinced the DEP, the federal government, the airport, the FAA, Air National Guard, and the agencies that had opposed the landfill here, that guess what? We can do this safely. We can have nighttime landfilling. And what was the incentive for doing that? It was to lower the cost of trash disposal for our ratepayers. That's you. That's the people of Atlantic County, from Buna to Brigantine, from Summers Point to Hamilton, from Corbin City to Egg Harbor City. All towns bring their trash here. And by the way, that's how it's done in the majority of the counties in the state. They have what's called waste flow. We have waste flow. Those agencies first said we receive about 1,200 tons of waste a day. Peaks a little more in the summer and it's down in the winter. We got approval from the state on a pilot project to handle, yes, go ahead with your landfill for 100 tons a day out of, let's say, 1,200 tons. All right, go ahead and do that. And let's see how that does. Nighttime landfilling, where you take all the trash into the building during the day, and then you landfill it at night. They gave us approval. We operated successfully for the first six months. Then they moved it to 200. Then they moved it to 300. And then after a full year of that, they said, you know what, you can do it all the time. And so we have operated the only nighttime landfill in the world safely since 1992, not 1998. So The proposal, this landfill has a finite limit. We know that. It's going to be filled in 7 years, 6 years in April, 6 years from now. We are responsible for finding a place legally, environmentally, and a way to get it there. But remember, we have a transfer station. We will do that. We have 6 years to do that. That's not the argument here. That's a bigger issue that will be countywide later in a discussion that the County Solid Waste Advisory Council will have to the public body appointed, not paid. They're volunteer citizens, and their advisory board to the county government on solid waste. All actions that have been passed by the county having to do with solid waste and solid waste facilities and policies have gone before the Solid Waste Advisory Council. This project has to go to the Solid Waste Advisory Council. We've given you a book that has the details on what's been submitted so far, what's proposed, and what the reaction has been by the professionals in the county planning department that are reviewing the project. So, what is it that's being proposed? It's a rail trash transfer station to be located on West Washington Avenue. This happens to be right here in Egg Harbor Township, Pleasantville border. Pleasantville this way, Egg Harbor Township this way. The building proposed is this, 8,000 square feet. That's 8,000 square feet. That's what I asked. It's the size of a dollar store. There's a dollar store right there from California and New Road. That's actually 10,000 square feet. So what's being proposed, and this is why the ACWA says this doesn't make sense. That's why. You're going to put this material, 500 tons a day. That's the application. You have it in front of you. It asks for approval of 500 tons a day. What has been publicly talked about is 400 tons a day. Doesn't matter. 400 tons a day doesn't fit in an 8,000 square foot building on a 2-acre lot. Doesn't fit. This gives you a sense. This is the proposed, this is the lot right here. This gives you a sense after 5 vehicles, 6 vehicles, the traffic is backed up. The applicant has said there will be 115 trucks a day. We've been operating since 1990. I'm going to ask Matt Donato, one of our vice presidents, to explain. This is real data. This isn't a projection or a study by a traffic engineer. This is real data about what the traffic impacts will be based on our operations.
So in regards to traffic, as Rick had pointed out, right now the site is proposed on a 2-acre lot that has enough queuing for trucks of 4. The 5th one sticks out in Washington Avenue. The applicant had a traffic study done by a very reputable traffic engineer. However, the data that was provided, if you look in your books there, was actually provided by the applicant. So the vehicle count that the entire study is based off of was provided by the applicant. And what was provided? As Rick said, 115 vehicles per day. We've been operating for over 20 years. This chart over here shows that. It shows 15-minute loading. So every 15 minutes, it shows a peak of what that could look like. 2021, 22 cars in 15 minutes. Not cars, I'm sorry, trucks. Roll-offs, pickup trucks with trailers. 2020, max, 22 cars in 15 minutes. They're not all coming every 30 seconds. How about 2019, 33? And when we talk about 115 vehicles, this is a snapshot of 4 months. This isn't over the summer, which is typically a higher period of waste. This is from August 12th, 2021 to October 1st, or I'm sorry, December 1st. So about a 4-month snapshot. There's one date on here that actually shows where the traffic is less than 115. Labor Day, Monday, Labor Day. How many people are working on Labor Day, bringing trash to the facility? Every other one of these is actually double at least, some triple. We have 326 single trips, not double. Remember, they're coming in and they're coming out. So 115, when the data is all showing 300 plus. So that when you talk about traffic and you talk about that buildup, think of 33 vehicles. What happens in that 15-minute period on Washington Avenue? And look at the proposal of the 4 vehicles that are able to actually line up there. And anybody that's driven by our facility, as Rick mentioned, is a 365-acre facility. Our queuing allows 28 vehicles to back up. And if you drive by on a Monday, 9 o'clock, because it's ebbs and flows, it's morning time, everybody's trying to dump all their trash and then they're coming back after lunch. There's times where you'll see a truck backed up almost on Delilah Road. That's 28 vehicles back. So when you look at that and you look at the traffic study, again, what is being proposed and why? How is that possible in Pleasantville?
So the applicant has not proposed any improvements to Washington Avenue. There's no widening. It's a 2-lane road, as Delilah Road was before the ACUA built its transfer station. There's no traffic signal. There's no turning lanes for left or right. And remember, when there's 115, 300 some trucks a day, it's actually 600 movements in and out in a day. So our point is the traffic study that's been presented to the county for consideration now is not reflecting what would happen if there were 400 or 500 tons of trash, C&D waste. And by the way, C&D waste is this. What does that look like to you? It looks like trash, because it is trash. That's why it has to go to a landfill. That's trash. It's not benign. And we all know that construction dumpsters are filled with trash because the workers, the construction workers, and other people throw garbage and so forth in the waste. So there are C&D facilities. We're just saying this facility is not needed. We have a C&D landfill. We have a facility that can handle it. There's no need for it. Yes, the landfill will fill up, and the ACUA will find a location, and it'll be presented to the Solid Waste Advisory Council. It'll be reviewed. There'll be public hearings and meetings. It'll go to the Board of Freeholders as an ordinance with public hearings. And then, if it's approved, it goes to the New Jersey DEP for approval. As this project would, if it gets approved at Pleasantville, then the county planning department will continue its review of the proposal so far. And when it's deemed complete, it will go before the Solid Waste Advisory Council, who first most will have a hearing for a presentation. And then 3 months later, they'll have a public hearing where the ACUA will have a chance, the public will have a chance, obviously the applicant would have a chance to make their presentation. The whole Solid Waste Management Act is built on one thing from the 1970s. It's built on public awareness. It's built on transparency. That was the law. There is not, you can't get solid waste facilities approved without lots of public input. So what's the frustration and why are we having this meeting? So we'll go back in time. The community is not aware of this facility. If I ask you how many people here think it's approved, how many people think it's approved? Okay. On its way to approval? Do you think the city of Pleasantville has approved it yet? No, some are saying no, and some are saying yes. Well, the county planning department doesn't think so. So on July 22nd, there's a letter in your packet, 8 months ago. A letter went to the applicant that says 6 pages in there. It raises the issues about traffic, raises the issues about dust and odor and noise control. Remember, this is a 2-acre lot, not a 365-acre lot. There are homes, there are businesses that are nearby. Many of you who are in this room, and many others who don't even know about it. Don't even know about it. The county planning department, in that July 22nd letter, says, you have it, you take it home, you read it. I don't expect you to remember everything I'm saying today. It says there needs to be a separate freestanding resolution by the city authorizing and designating that they're approving the site and the facility. That's step one before the county ever considers a facility to be put in the plan. 7.5, 8 months, not one word to all those questions in that July 22nd letter. Not one word. Checked with the county planning department. And you know, the people on SWAC, the Solid Waste Advisory Council, they're wondering too. They read about this in the paper and they go, this hasn't been presented to us. Aren't we part of the process? Yes, you are part of the process. You are the first step in the process after the city or the municipality where the facility is supposed to be located. There was a resolution, and you have a list of all the resolutions passed on July 19th by the city of Pleasantville that has been stated as the approval of the city. I ask you to read that resolution and see if it says anything about a track rail transfer station. So how would you know? I'm going to go through all of these resolutions having to do with this redevelopment project and deal with the transparency issue. There's other issues that's been identified in that letter that says, what are the contingencies? What if the rail line is closed? You may not remember that the rail line was closed for almost 8 months, just a year and a half ago. Traffic of the rail line goes through Pleasantville from this location, usually at night. It goes out to the main line, the Atlantic City to Philadelphia line, goes through Absecon, goes through Galloway, goes through Egg Harbor City, goes through Mulligan, goes through Hamilton, goes through Winslow, all the way up to Camden, where the switch yards are. All right. It meets up with the main line from Atlantic City in the Meadows. The Meadows flood now, are going to increasingly flood. That's an issue. It might be solvable. It's been asked, and there's no response. 7.5 months, not one word, one inquiry, one call for a meeting, one follow-up to the letter from July 2nd, 22nd of last year till today. That letter outlines that the city, first of all, has to pass a resolution specifically saying, we approve this. We're all on board. Now, you would go to that meeting, right? If you knew. If you knew. If you had time. And if it was in a meeting room where it wasn't in the middle of COVID, wasn't difficult to get to, so forth. Transparency. That's all that's being asked for in the Solid Waste Management Act. Not behind closed doors, not by meetings, individual closed door meetings with folks. All of every step of the way. When we make a proposal for a facility, as we did in the 1990s, let me tell you, it was hell. It took 6-7 years to get that site approved. It wasn't fun. It cost money. And there were lots of meetings like this where people were angry. I don't want it in Amatol. I don't want it here. I don't want it there. And the freeholders, then called freeholders, county commissioners, and the county executive, all were a part of that process, and the public. And actually, some of you may have been a part of it too. But in the end, a decision was made, it was endorsed, and it's been operating successfully, and by the way, still the lowest tipping fees in the state. Atlantic County. So that's why we oppose this site, because its building is too small. 8,000 square feet. Go to the dollar store and think, walk in there and say, there's 2 rail cars, 50-foot rail cars on the left, taking up about a quarter of the room. Then there's an excavator that has to take the pile and put it in the train bed. Then there's the pile. And by the way, this building right here, 8,000 square feet, has 1 door proposed. 1 door. Means the trucks have to back up and back in. The folks that came here earlier, did you hear the beep, beep, beep? That will be from 7 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, every day of the week. One part of the application says 7 days or 6 days a week, full day. One other part of the application says half a day on Saturday. By the way, that's the HUA, it's the way we operate. Half a day on Saturday. That noise is not buffered by 365 acres and the parkway. There are homes nearby. Yes, there are other uses there. And by the way, the law, there's another new law that somebody's going to have to pay attention to, whether it's the county, the SWAC, the freeholder, county commissioners, excuse me, and definitely the DEP. It's called the Environmental Justice Act, and it was passed by New Jersey last year. You can't put facilities like this in neighborhoods like this when it's not needed. Why would it be needed? We already have a facility. We have a transfer station. It's designed to handle all the waste, including this waste, and it was designed to take it in and take it out somewhere else. If our landfill fills and it will fill. That comparison, this is the site. Right here, the blue is the building proposed, 8,000 square feet. Rail line that's going to serve it is yet to be built, and the applicant will build that if he's approved. And it will go into the building, and it would the rail cars will be in the building, and they'll load them, and when they're filled, they'll push them out this way or push them out that way. 4 or 5 or 6 a day, depending on how much is coming in. Then it'll back up here and go out through the city of Pleasantville, depending on whatever the schedule is, and then hook up with the main line. Go there. Does it look like there aren't homes here? Over here? Yes, there's a shopping center, there's Spencer's Gifts. There are people that live right here in Egg Harbor Township. One of the things the county had said, you need to notify and meet and discuss this project with Egg Harbor Township. Specifically said, read it in there. July 22nd of last year, that letter was sent. No answer yet. Lots of meetings with county commissioners about how bad the HUA is. But not one word about a document that is public information and been public information since July 22nd. Not one answer to one of those questions or issues. Not one. What's going on? That seems strange. In the meantime, the applicant has put a sign up on Washington Avenue in late October, with rendering of the building, coming soon. I think it's still there. Coming soon, there's a process to go through if they ever get a resolution from Pleasantville City Council. The City Council will have to vote on it, specifically saying, we approve a rail trash transfer station for C&D waste of 8,000 square feet on a 2-acre lot, this location in Pleasantville. And we endorse it to go on to the county to consider. That's what has to happen. It hasn't happened. Now, the city may not think it has to happen, but that letter from July 22nd says it has to happen. That's the policy. It's always been the policy. There has to be an endorsement by the quote host municipality. That has not happened yet. It could happen Monday, next Monday. City Council has a meeting. They might put it on the agenda on Saturday afternoon when they give you 48 minutes notice for a meeting on Monday night. How many people are going to get the word on Saturday night, Sunday, and Monday morning to go to a city council meeting? How many people are going to get mobilized to go there? Pay attention. If this project is for real, there will have to be that resolution. There will have to be that vote. There was a public meeting in August. You know that. Some of you were there. The city, it became a city council meeting, and they had the applicant have about an hour and 15 minutes between his presentation and the city's redevelopment expert make a presentation. And then one of the council people said, is the ACUA going to get a chance to talk about why they're concerned about this project? Initial, no. There was some rumbling in the crowd. They said, oh, okay, you can have 3 minutes. I stretched the tape without rumbling behind me, telling me, hurry up, get done. You're done. We had all of this in the room. All of this in the room. This isn't new information, except the update on traffic from the fall. All of it was in the room. At one point during my 8 minutes, I said, oh, gentlemen, ACWA guys, we put out one of the boards. They were all on rollers. We're in a gym. Easy as could be. City officials said, you are not going to show those things. Is that transparency? Anybody at that meeting here tonight? Did that happen, or am I describing it correctly? Okay. Jim, am I describing it exactly the way it went? So that's how it went down. This one is recorded. All right? That wasn't recorded. The press was at that one. Really get that across in the story that came out the day or two afterwards. This is why the HOA is opposed. I'll go through the list. This is just another aspect of this. But I'll go over. The site's too small, the building's too small for 400, 500 tons of C&D waste. The traffic plan is flawed. There's not a traffic light. There's not widening of the road. By the way, that would be a cost of the applicant, just as it was for the HOA 30 years ago. Noise, odor, and dust. Hey, come to our transfer station. Don't tell me there isn't noise, dust, and odor. It is. You know it. And you do call it the dump. I went to the dump today, Rick. My neighbor said, no, I don't. I always joke with him. No, you went to this transfer station. Oh, I went to the dump. Yes. That's why we use the term stop the dump. Because that's the term people understand and know and gets across exactly what we're talking about. Now, you go through those resolutions going back to 2018, and the word trash transfer station does not appear until last summer. There were 5 or 6 of them, amendments going back to 2018. The word trash transfer station is not used until the 19th of July last year. But it's actually not in the resolution. It's definitely not on the agenda. You would know if you're a resident of Pleasantville, if you looked at you looked at the agenda for the 19th of July last year. It's in there online to say, I wonder what they're doing at City Council this week. There's nothing to say to you that there's a trash transfer station on the agenda to be approved. It says an amendment to an agreement with the applicant's company, which most people are aware of everybody's aware of the cannabis growing facility on the same property. And that's what everybody thinks it's about. But there's a little side gate being proposed, and that's the resolution. And then it authorizes a memorandum of understanding, which was actually not signed till 3 days later. Again, only us inside government that can root through, all this information can find it. There's a memorandum of understanding, and for the first time, there's some detail about it, but it wasn't reported in the media. It wasn't made clear to anybody. The county has said that was inadequate. That is not, you're not having transparent, forward presentation of what you're proposing to endorse. So that's the story. Now, how does this relate to Galloway? The importance of Galloway is this. During 2020, the applicant did propose this facility and this use on the property he owns behind Barrett, formerly Lennox, in Galloway Township. I know because the applicant came to me and had a meeting with his staff or his people. It's disgusting. With me. How can the ACUA get on board with this project? All right, so I'm going to take us over to, this is 2020. This is the beginning of the pandemic, spring of 2020. This is former Lennox China, now Barrett. This is Tilton Road. This is the rail line. This is Galloway Township, White Horse Pike, Blue Heron Pines Golf Course and Community. The applicant owns this property. 7 acres. There's a drawing of the proposal. Went to the Pinelands Commission. It was shared with the officials in Galloway Township. This one. This is it. This is 7 acres. Well, here's the interesting thing. This is a 40,000 square foot, 40,000, not 8,000. So it's lots of dollar stores. 40,000, and so Matt Pinaco talked about the whole traffic point. There's a lot of room for queuing here, 7 acres. A lot of room. This site, I couldn't be as vociferous about proposing it on the grounds that it's inadequate in size for 300, 400, 500 tons a day. It's a much more suitable site. That doesn't mean the HOA is for it, but I'm telling you, it's a much more suitable site. There would have been, the county would have had issues here on Little Alo Avenue, Alo Road. It's a county road, 2-lane road, almost like a country road. But most of us are aware of the intersection up by the bridge, where Chilton and Alo, before you go across the railroad bridge, that intersection. That's a pretty dangerous intersection. So there would have been some requirements, as there will be for this one if it gets approved. I can't say it won't get approved, but the traffic improvements are going to have to be significantly different. But, you know, here's the drawing, there's a date on it. This was actually proposed before the project came back to Pleasantville, later in 2020. What happened? Basically, the people that live here, they knew all about it. There was no stories in the paper. They didn't want it. Guess what they did? They have the resources to hire an attorney, an environmental engineer, and talk to the politicians of Galloway Township and say, no way, over our dead body, you do this. You endorse it. Remember, I said Galloway would have had to endorse it. And that discussion, there's plenty of emails, discussions, meetings with the Pinelands Commission, because this is in Pinelands. That would have been an issue. All kinds of discussions. We got shut down. I have a personal note from Mr. Bob Mueller, the head of the Homeowners Association, from June of 2020 saying, Rick, I'm told it's over. Over for them. Over for them. Politicians, the elected officials of Galloway Township have closed the door. It's not going to happen. About 4 weeks later, former freeholder chairman, now called commissioners, Frank Formica, calls me up and says, Mr. Di Natale, the applicant, and his folks would like to meet with you to talk about the site in Pleasantville. And see how can the HUA get on board with that. July is the phone call. The meeting is in August, early August, at our office, the HUA. And I said, you're crazy. You already got your marijuana growing facility. You're really being piggy. You're going to take the 7-acre site. You're taking the 7-acre site that was the former Crest property, and you're going to subdivide it, have the marijuana growing facility on one side, which, by the way, is what the public all knew. The newspaper covered it, everybody covered it. You were aware of that, the city fathers. But you weren't aware of the little side proposal of the trash transfer station. That's the gobbledygook of all these resolutions, ordinances, amendments that you have copies of now. That's not transparent. I knew it was all going on. You didn't. Now, maybe the people of Pleasantville want it, but you have a right to hear what's going on. That's all we're doing tonight. Now, you know what happened at the August meeting? Then there were members of the community, 3 or 4 people, who were trying for the last several months to have a community meeting where the applicant, Mr. DiNatale, would come in and make a presentation of his project, again, which he did do last August. And this time the HUA would get to do this. And then there would be questions and answers. Now, you know that that meeting was postponed. It was scheduled at Mount Zion Baptist Church, not by the HUA, but by those 2 or 3 or 4 people that were trying to organize it. And in January, at the peak of the Omicron, rightfully so, the meetings were postponed because of COVID. Then it had another date, and that one was postponed. And basically what I heard through the grapevine, there's never going to be a meeting at Mount Zion Baptist Church. All right? You know, I can't prove that, but the organizers weren't organized. Now, on the county level, there's a whole nother war going on about this. So the applicant has embarked on a program to demonize the HUA. That's not your issue. We'll deal with that. And the time will come. They will go to SWAC if this project is approved at Pleasantville, by Pleasantville City Council, by vote, and it might be. But remember, there was one councilwoman who voted on July 19th, who said in August at that public meeting, I will change my vote. She couldn't have been clearer about it. Now that I know 8 minutes worth of what Rick said, only 8 minutes, not an hour and 15 minutes. Now, I don't know whether any other city council people will, quote, change their vote, but you should be there. And you should be armed with this information and should ask questions. It still might get approved. I know that. But actually, I'm predicting it will. I'm predicting it will. Because then it goes to the Solid Waste Advisory Council if and when the applicant ever answers those 6 pages of questions and comments. It has to be deemed complete. By the way, the lot that is proposed, one of the points in that 6 pages is the lot doesn't even exist yet. It's not been subdivided. In 8 months, still hasn't happened. At the public meeting in August, the city said, somebody from the city, I don't know, the redeveloper expert or city, county or city council, attorney for the city, somebody said, oh, it's going before the planning board in the next couple of weeks. It has not been on the planning board. It has to be. The memorandum of understanding that's in your package says the planning board must review it and approve it. That hasn't happened either. And there are a list in that memorandum of understanding from August 24th, July 23rd, in your packet that outlines what the city says needs to happen. None of that has been supplied yet. At least we're not aware. So I just want to end with, it's not needed. We have a transfer station. Yes, we have a landfill that's going to fill in 6 years. We're professionals. We've been doing this for 40 years. We will find an appropriate, approvable site, and we will present it to the Solid Waste Advisory Council for their review and input, and then it would go to the county commissioners for their approval. 6 years is a short period of time, but it's also a long period of time. We have time to go out to bid for hauling and disposal. Takes 90 days. That's the law in New Jersey. All right, you have to have it on the street 90 days. Yeah, there's landfills, there's waste energy facilities in the tri-state area that would want our trash after the landfill is filled. There's no doubt about that. But we need to do it in a competitive, publicly bid way. We don't make a sweetheart deal with a private company. It's illegal, by the way. It's illegal. It's not proper. We'll do that. And for the hauling, we'll do that. We'll have an answer. Commissioner, I guarantee you we'll have an answer. In time, in plenty of time. We have not failed at our assignment since 1982. We have not failed one iota. We have the best solid waste system in the country. I'm bragging because it's true. And it's operated that way. We know the landfill is going to fill. And by the way, at the same time, we're still pursuing and have always pursued the alternative way of dealing with trash. It turns it into magic energy or whatever it does, and there's all kinds of ideas. We've gone out to bid twice or RFP twice in the last 10 years, and there are no viable economically projects that will work in New Jersey today. Listen, if we're going to pay $500 a ton for trash disposal, from moving it up from where we are now, $69 a ton, that would hit you. That would hit every business and every household and resident and taxpayer in Atlantic County. You know, it's our job to do that in the most prudent way possible. That's what we'll do. That's been our assignment, and we've done it for years, and we'll continue to do it. Okay, so I'm going to give you a chance to ask some questions. Mostly, I don't really want to talk about what do we do about the landfill, because that's not the issue. We're talking about this facility here as proposed, 8,000 square feet, 2 acre lot, with the 5th truck backing up on Washington Avenue, and no noise, no odors, no impacts on the community surrounding it. Okay. Karen?
Yes, so if there are any questions, if you raise your hand, I will come around with the microphone so that you can pose it. And additionally, I forgot to mention earlier that we do have a Spanish interpreter here. So if anyone needs assistance with interpretation, please let us know that as well.
Please forgive me, I have to take my mask off so you can hear me. I have a bunch of questions. My name is Kathleen Spade, and I live at 108 Country Club Drive in Linwood, New Jersey. I may not live in Pleasantville, but I have enough friends and neighbors who live in Pleasantville that will be impacted by this. And it doesn't matter where I live, whether I live in Linwood or Pleasantville or anywhere else. I live in Atlantic County and this affects all of us. So I'm here tonight to gather as much information as I can. So my first question is, why has the Atlantic County Board of Commissioners voted for a resolution, which they did this past December of 2021, when the SWAC, so for those of you that don't know, there's a lot of acronyms that go with this project. SWAC stands for the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. C&D means construction and debris, for those who don't know what that means. Sometimes I have to remind myself, so I'm saying it out loud so I can remember it myself. So why has the Atlantic County Board of Commissioners approved a resolution when it hasn't gone in front of SWAC yet? And anybody who hasn't had a chance needs to come over and take a look at this wonderful poster here. And it explains the solid waste management process. And I'm just wondering if you might have an opinion why the Atlantic County Board of Commissioners has overrode the SWAC process.
I have no idea.
The second thing I wanted to talk about is where will the trucks turn around on this property? It was mentioned that 4 trucks are going to queue, and then the 5th truck would be sticking out on Washington Avenue. I believe I've looked at this site, and I'm trying to figure out when the trucks come in, how are they going to turn around, dump their load, and then come back out?
So as you can see from this drawing, aerial with the building on top, this is the building. This is the 8,000 square feet. This is a pad. As I would guess, they're going to drive in, back up, and dump. And then they'll come out, 1 truck at a time. And they'll come out. There isn't an open end at this end of the building proposed as of today. So there's every one of our buildings, recycling center, the transfer station has an egress. That's usually how these facilities are designed. All right. So every time a vehicle is backing up to dump, you heard those beeps. That'll be going on.
Where on the site will the open railroad cars be positioned? And will there be debris in those railroad cars, obviously, and will they be covered, or are they going to be open to the air and that's going to be flying around on that property and the adjoining abutters properties?
Those are the questions. Those are 2 questions that are in the County Planning Department's letter of July 22nd, asking for a response to what you just asked.
Okay.
And that has not been forthcoming.
How many railroad cars will be sitting out there, and how quickly will they be filled up?
The county has asked that question.
Okay. So me and the county are thinking the same thoughts.
County Planning Department.
Thank you. Doesn't this railroad line get shared with the commuter rail? I've read that it does, and that there's only allowed 7 to 8 trips are allowed on that line. So who would have the right of way? Would this rail station have the right of way, or would the commuter rail station have the right of way?
The main line, if you turn around there, you'll see a map showing the rail line and where it connects out in the meadows, actually in Atlantic City. That line from Atlantic City to Philadelphia, Camden really, is operated and owned by New Jersey Transit. They have agreements with freight rail companies. In this case, the short line railroad that serves this area, and it does serve this area. It delivers lumber, stone, and other goods to Pleasantville and Egg Harbor Township. They usually operate on the main line at nighttime. They have to get a permit and coordinate that with New Jersey Transit. As a general rule, the commuter rails are not working at night. But New Jersey Transit determines that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
It
interrupt.
is a question that is also included in the letter of the 22nd of July.
So to follow up on that, my question then becomes is these rail lines, so not only are you going to hear the noise there during the day, but you're also going to hear the push and the pull of the rail cars going through there at night, is the question I'm wondering. What state is the construction and debris going to end up in? What if that landfill that it's going to closes, because that does happen? And I have a few more questions in that respect.
Those are also questions outlined in the letter from the county to the applicant in the letter of July 26th. Where's it going? Are those facilities permitted? What's their capacity? What's the protection? All that, all those sort of things, which by the way, we would include in a bid document when we go out to bid for disposal. You know, the facility has to have the capacity and the ability to receive it safely and be endorsed by the environmental agencies in that state.
So going back to something that you mentioned, I've read history that, and that's why the solid waste advisory plan was put into place. And I want to question, why is the state of New Jersey sending their construction and debris waste to another state? I believe this is a violation of the Solid Waste Management Act, and I would like to know why this developer thinks that this is a good idea and why they think it's okay to violate our Solid Waste Management Act. We do not have a state, just like other states, have the right to send our solid waste to another state. It must stay in our state and we must dispose of it.
So my answer to that is, as this process continues, you could ask that question at the county SWAC level, the county commissioner level, and then there will be a hearing, several hearings by New Jersey DEP, and there you ask them that.
Finally, I promise, I said I had a lot of questions, sorry, but that's me, I ask lots of questions. This applicant has recently asked for another of his construction and debris transfer stations to now allow trash. I read it recently in today's paper, as a matter of fact. So can you please explain to me, or I'm gonna leave this out as a rhetorical question. Right now, this applicant is looking at putting 400 to 500 tons of construction and debris waste. How long will it be until he files to also accept trash as well? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. The other folks.
My name is Don Shawless. I live on Main Street in Pleasantville. I have one major question, and that's how and when will the homeowners, residents, and schools be personally notified? I live in a huge apartment complex in Pleasantville, and I talked to someone at RPM, which is the property manager. They had no idea about this. And there, if you go along the railroad line, you also see that there's a grade school that is right next to where we are too. So
Yes. Again, that's really part of our point, is that we know that most people aren't aware of this. That's why we had this meeting tonight. There hasn't been anything since August. There needs to be a discussion. So that's why we sponsored this tonight and scheduled this.
Good evening. Will the video of this meeting be available, and if so, how?
The video will be available. I can't tell you how, but we'll let the information out.
How would I find that out? Who should I contact and when?
I would contact Amy or Sarah at the ACUA. So they're here tonight, and I'll ask them to give you some information.
Thank you.
My name is Carolyn Lilly, and I live on Lewis Road, which is close to this proposed dump. I want to know, I read in the paper that there was asbestos and other things that were being proposed to be put into this transfer station. And that he had been fined and that the marijuana growing and the process from Kane College they were bringing asbestos and some from Camden with asbestos. I want to know why he was allowed, well, you may not know,
I don't know that.
but you said they were going to be divided. I wanted to make sure I was clear on where they're growing the marijuana. That's all on the same line.
What has been proposed in the agreements between the city and the applicant is that the lot will be subdivided into 2 lots. Right now, it's 1 lot. And on 1 lot will remain the marijuana growing facility, and the other would be this trash transfer station. That has to be a subdivision of a property, has to be approved by the city planning board. And it has to be, this is on a county road, it has to be approved by the county planning department also. And the county would review it for 2 things, drainage, stormwater impacts, and traffic. The county has pointed that out and asked those questions, and the issue of the subdivision, what's the status of the subdivision, in the letter of July 22nd, 2021.
One more question. To my understanding, you had to start with city council, they voted. And then it was supposed to go to the planning board and then to environmental protection. I want to know where the process is now. Thank you.
The process is an application was submitted to the county planning staff. They're the professionals that work with the Solid Waste Advisory Council, Atlantic County Solid Waste Advisory Council. The staff of the planning department reviews it to see if it's meeting all the criteria to be considered. It's a complete application before they start raising issues. So I think they're going to raise the issue of traffic. I think they're going to raise many of the issues that have been discussed. They have already. There's just been no comeback response from. So part of what the county has said is this resolution of July 19th, 2021 is not sufficient for it to be deemed a complete application by the county solid waste advisory council. That has been known since the 22nd of July, and here we are in March of the following year. Nothing has happened except a sign was put up on Washington Avenue saying, coming soon. That's it.
I have a question. Where is this construction debris coming from? Because Pleasantville doesn't have any thing going on, like construction and stuff. And what measures have been put in place to protect the workers and the residents?
So construction, you see these pictures here. This is C&D waste coming in, not that one. This is a small haul bringing in C&D waste from a construction site. It could be a home renovation. It could be a tear down. It could be a building of a new building, a commercial building, a house, and so forth. You see dumpsters everywhere. That's what it is. That's the material that's coming in. It comes from. No, it comes from all over Atlantic County. Now, one thing that has not been identified by the county, but I'm going to identify it, is the unique nature of, remember I talked about earlier about waste flow, we have waste flow, meaning we have the franchise given to us, granted to us by the Board of Commissioners of Atlantic County, approved by the county executive 10 years, 12 years ago. and the New Jersey DEP, the Commissioner of DEP. That's the law of Atlantic County today. All waste must go to the HUA, right? That's the law today. What's being proposed here is that 500 tons of it will not go there. It will go here to this proposed facility. So it comes from everywhere, but the kind of waste flow that Cape May County has and Ocean County to the north, Tuckerton, Ocean, Long Beach Island, Manahawkin, they have a different kind of waste flow. They have waste flow that only controls the waste. They have all the waste in their county has to go there unless it's going out of state. Unless it's going out of state. Meaning C&D waste from Ocean City and Upper Township and Cape May County will be able to come to this site if it's approved. Same with Ocean County. We do not accept waste from Ocean County or because it's in state. But if it's going out of state to a landfill somewhere else at the end of a rail line, it will come here. So how do I know that that would happen financially? Because for 5 years, there was a trash transfer station taking C&D waste in that existed in Pleasantville before the HOA had waste flow. Did you know that? No, it's still here. There's a picture of it right there. That's a picture from the fall. So where did the waste come from? It came from Atlantic County, and it came from Ocean City. The track came from Ocean City to here. It came from Tuckerton here. This was before Sandy, but I can tell you that after Sandy, if it was all going, you would have got a lot more at that site. Anyway, long, complicated story. That's closed. It's still owned by the railroad, that, by the way, that says they're going to be a partner in this project. That's the way it looks today. You could go there now. There was one homeless man living there in the fall. I don't know if he's still there in the wintertime. Lives in the trailer. That's 12 years ago. It's not been touched. The building has fallen down. So the applicant doesn't own it, but this partner owns it. The short line railroad that operates this railroad.
Peace and love, everybody. I'm Ty. I work with CROPS, the organization Communities Revolutionizing Open Public Spaces. I actually want to thank ACUA for having this meeting tonight. I know it's very important that the community is very involved in these public meetings. I actually sat in, luckily, because I got this information like real quick and abruptly. I sat in on a SWAC meeting and found out all of this information just by sitting in on this one public SWAC meeting. And a lot of questions came up. A lot of transparency, a lot of accountability needs to be had. This application's been sitting for over a year, incomplete. And like he stated, it was made out to the public like this thing was going through. So a lot of misinformation was being put out there. And I think it's very important, and that's why I thank ACUA again, to have meetings like this for the public. So we are made aware of the decisions made based on behalf of us. That's why I'm currently trying to get a green team put together in the Pleasantville community. The city of Pleasantville has a green team, but they haven't had support. So I do encourage the community when we get opportunities like this, please sit in, because you get educated. You get knowledge about what's actually happening right in front of you. So thank you once again.
I think the next SWAC meeting is April. I would encourage everyone to be there, because I don't even think they were surprised. Me and 2 other people from the public were sitting in this meeting. They never really had anybody sitting in these public meetings. And that's the missing component in most communities. The community is not involved. So, April 19th, 6:30. They do it, I think they're doing it virtually, but if you want to go online, they have it listed where you can find out when they're having these public meetings. I do have information, because I do want to encourage you guys to join the green team. Because by joining the green team, when we have things like this going down, we actually have an opinion and a voice. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, ACUA. And I trust that we get answers from the people who are in positions, and accountability needs to be had. Because I do believe the developer here is here tonight, and a lot of questions have been asked, so I hope that he can address it. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Yes.
Good evening, Priscilla Noel. I live on Crescent Avenue. I just want to walk over here and get a better understanding of what the rail would, where it would travel from this transfer facility. Are you telling me that it would come back out here and go all the way through Pleasantville to right here?
Yes.
So it would cross the rail, it would impede New Road traffic at some point, right? It would impede Main Street, right? And then it would come through, and whatever is there will filter into the bay, whatever, all that, and then go there.
Well, as the applicant would tell you, and I'll tell you, there is regular rail traffic from this location, freight rail that goes to a number of businesses in this area already. It's been going on since the Reading Railroad owned the property, in the 1800s. Used to go all the way to Mays Landing and Vineland, but it stops at the Parkway. So there is freight traffic that happens here now. It's not trash trailers. So there are different ways of hauling trash in rail cars. There's open top and there's closed top. That's a question that the county has asked. What kind of cars is it? Now, that doesn't mean it won't smell and it won't sit on the siding, but it's not likely to be I'm being fair, that there's going to be litter along the way, but it depends on whether it's open top or closed. And that is a question. Again, I'm going to bring you back to this letter that you have from the 22nd of July from the county planning department to the applicant. Will you answer these questions so we can move on to consider your project? Not a word, not one word since then, not one word. So yes, and by the way, this is the location of the facility that operated for 5 years. It's the end of Old Turnpike. Out in the meadows, and you see the torn down, the building that fell down, the equipment's still there, and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, it's behind Peter Lumber.
But I just wanted to make sure that we all understood that it was going to come through. And there are small particulates when there is construction debris, and you don't necessarily control how demolition happens. So when we think, oh yeah, we're going to take care of it, but it's coming through. There's schools on this side. There's schools on this side. There's businesses. When we talk about the shopping center, people go there to buy food. So all whatever particulates that you cannot control getting into the air, if you're going to buy food, fresh produce or whatever, those tiny particles travel through the water. So I commend my ally, community ally. We need more like you. We need everybody to talk to the businesses. You know, everybody's busy, but when we patronize these places, ask for the owner. If they don't know, tell them. Tell them that this is destructive to the community. Pleasantville is only about 7 square miles big. And the average income, median income of all the residents in Pleasantville is only about 40,000. We do receive a lot of funding because of that. And the population predominantly is Hispanic and Black. I'm gonna say it. So why do we have to take this when we've taken it again and again and again? Because if we get through it, right? We did this. We did this here. It didn't work. We did this here. And Pleasantville High School is on that. So let's wake up. Let's communicate. Let's integrate and get together, because if not, it's gonna happen again. Talk to the people, talk to everyone, get to know somebody. Say, hey, did you know this is going on? Knock on your door of your neighbor and say, hey, you know, if you go to the laundromat, ask for the owner. Hey, did you know this is going on? Because they're not notifying us. We are a community. We gotta get this together. I wanna thank the church for having this, and we need to have more of this. We need to get involved. We really need to get involved, because it's not just gonna affect you. It's not just gonna affect you, it's affect everybody. Because if I'm a business owner and this happens, I'm out. So that's less revenue for our community. That's less revenue that goes to the city so that they can do things to help the community. So we need to get on this ASAP.
Hello, my name is David Carrington. I'm a lifelong resident here in Pleasantville. My question is, and maybe I should save this for city council. I thought we had some city council members here, but I don't see them now. Why Pleasantville? Why would you entertain this transfer station, this dump site? Pleasantville is dealing, just like Ms. Noel said, is dealing with a lot of issues. We have John Brooks, and that facility has not been healthy nor good for Pleasantville. The Pleasantville High School and middle schools are built on top of a former dump. And the children are suffering. Prices hit. City council had an opportunity to make sure that those schools were at another location. They failed us in that. Our kids are suffering, our teachers are suffering. Who builds a campus on top of a dump? And now we're dealing with this. This rail line is going right past Washington Avenue School. During the day, these kids are outside. So whatever smell, whatever debris, whatever they are taking in. Pleasantville High School is right around the corner from this. So how is that going to affect them, as well as those schools being sitting on top of a former dump? Buses go through, the school buses go through this area, both Pleasantville and Egg Harbor Township. I encourage the citizens of Pleasantville to go to the next city council meeting and voice your opinion, because Pleasantville can only handle but so much. And we are up to our hairlines with the foolishness from city council and their poor decision making. Citizens of Pleasantville, stand up. Enough is enough. Thank you.
I just want to ask one question. You know, you get these flyers around here for all council, they're running, they want to know who they are. But why wasn't any of this stuff like flyers sent out to the public to tell them that this is going on. I mean, they sent 50 million flyers when they're running for election, but no one even knew this was going on. And, you know, I just think it's just like, it's like they're hiding things from us, because a lot of times people don't know that there's a city council meeting. I would love to go to one if we knew where they were. It seems like everything is secret. So it really is, you know, hard. And I live on a little small street in Pleasantville, but my name is Anna Quintana. But this is how I feel about it. It's just not right. And if they can do the flyers to tell us that they're running for a position on city council, then they could get a flyer out telling us that they got a trash dump coming to Pleasantville. So the people of Pleasantville know, because a lot of people are older and they don't have internet. They rely on either somebody telling them, a flyer, someone knocking on their door telling them about it. So that's what we all need to do here in Pleasantville, because I contacted my neighbors and said, we all need to come to this meeting. But my neighbors didn't come. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Okay. There are no other questions. I just want to, this has been running. And this is C&D waste. All right. It's been discussed in the newspaper at the county commissioners meetings as that's C&D waste. You see the dust, the odor, that's trash, right? That's what that is. What happens when it gets done? That's going to happen. That's being proposed in an 8,000 square foot building, size of a dollar store. This is on a 365 acre, 66,000 square foot building with an air control system and so forth. That's the difference. That already exists. There already was a public hearing. God, there were 10 public hearings about that, and lots of people were upset about it being there. But it finally was decided to go there, and it went through the process. It took 6 years. 6 years. Now, this facility is being proposed that it's the savior of the county. Listen, we'll figure out where to send the trash safely and efficiently and cost effectively. That's our job. That's the HOA's job. When you read the solid waste plan, it says the three county commissioners and the county government and the DP have appointed the HOA to that job. We have not failed on that job yet. And we won't going forward. This facility is not needed, even when the landfill is filled. Sharon, one more and then we'll close up. And I want to, just before we close up, I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank the HOA staff. You obviously know that a lot of work went into this, and by the way, money. All right? And we're going to get criticized in about 2 weeks by the county commissioners for spending the money to inform you with flyers and information.
Thank you. We appreciate it. So I just wanted to let you guys know the SWAC meeting is on April 19th. 6 p.m. is going to be held virtually. The Atlantic County Department of Regional. Yes, the planning development. And the next city council meetings is March the 7th and March the 21st. So we just need to be there so our voices are heard, and we know what's going on. You know, because it's, for me now, being as though that I've gotten into this, I'm actually currently in the environmental storage program, and I'm finding out so much stuff that we can have so much sustainability if we take back what's ours, and this is our community. You know, so if anybody's gonna make any decisions based on us, we need to be a part of those decisions. So I hope to see more of you there, and please stop by. I have flyers, because I do encourage you guys. The green teams definitely get things done in the municipalities. So I'm trying to form that. So please, I encourage you. If you need any information, I have it. Okay. Thank you, and everybody get home safe.
Good night.